It's just paperwork. Sign it and we'll all go home. The words landed softly, almost politely, but the smiles that followed were sharp, too sharp. She stood at the end of the long conference table, hands folded, coat still on, as if she were a guest who had overstayed her welcome. Around her, the room buzzed with quiet confidence. People who believed the outcome was already decided. Her sister-in-law avoided her eyes. Her nephew stared at his phone. And her brother, her own brother, leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, wearing the kind of smile people wear when they think they're being generous. "It's only paperwork," he said again, slower this time. "Nothing complicated. You don't need to understand all of it." Someone chuckled, not loudly, just enough. She felt it then, that familiar tightening in her chest. The moment when people decide who you are for you, when they reduce a lifetime into a convenient label. Old, tired, confused, harmless. She nodded once, not because she agreed, but because she was listening. They mistook that nod for surrender. They always did. The building itself felt cold, sterile, designed to make people feel small. Frosted glass walls, steel chairs, neutral colors meant to suggest professionalism while draining warmth from every conversation. On the wall behind them, a framed certificate listed the firm's founding year, older than most of the people in the room. She noticed everything. The way the documents were stacked too neatly, the way the paralegal had already placed a pen exactly where her signature would go, the way no one asked if she wanted a copy. Details mattered, they always had. Her husband used to say that, back when people still asked for his opinion, back when they waited for him to speak before they spoke themselves, back before he died. "You don't need a lawyer for this," her sister-in-law said gently, the way one speaks to a child. "We're family, family." That word had been used against her more times than she could count. She looked down at the first page. Dense paragraphs, legal language, a structure that looked familiar, but not in the way they expected. Her eyes moved slowly, deliberately. She didn't rush. Let them feel the silence. Someone sighed. Her nephew leaned over and whispered, not quietly enough, "She probably doesn't even know what half of this means." Laughter followed. Again, small, controlled, cruel in its restraint. They thought the danger had passed. What they didn't realize was that the danger hadn't even begun. She reached the last page and paused, not at the signature line, but at the footer, the formatting, the registration number, the preparation code. Her fingers tightened, just slightly. That code didn't belong there. She looked up. "Who prepared these documents?" The question cut through the room like a blade. Conversation stopped. Smiles froze mid-expression. Her brother cleared his throat. "Our attorney, obviously." She tilted her head. "Which one?" Another pause. Too long. The paralegal glanced at the man seated at the far end of the table, the lawyer they had brought in. Mid-40s, crisp suit, confident posture, the kind of man who expected obedience because he'd rarely been challenged. He smiled. "My firm handled the preparation." She studied him carefully. Not his face, his reaction time, the way his fingers tapped once on the folder, the way his jaw tightened before he spoke. "Interesting." She nodded again, slowly. "That's strange," she said. The room stiffened. Her sister-in-law laughed nervously. "Strange how?" She lowered the document and met their eyes for the first time since entering the room. Her gaze was steady, calm, unimpressed. "This preparation code," she said, tapping the page lightly. "It doesn't belong to your firm." Silence fell like a weight. Her brother's smile faltered, just for a second, but she saw it. The lawyer leaned forward. "I assure you—" "No," she interrupted. Not loudly, not rudely, just firmly. "You don't need to assure me. I recognize the code." The paralegal's eyes widened, just slightly. Her nephew laughed again, this time louder. "With all due respect, you're mistaken." She looked at him, really looked at him. The impatience, the entitlement, the certainty that she had nothing left to surprise them with. "You might want to stop talking," she said quietly. That was when her brother stood up. "Enough," he snapped. "We're not here for theatrics. You've been through a lot. We're trying to make this easy for you." Easy. He slid the pen closer to her. The final push. "Sign it," he said. "It's just paperwork." She stared at the pen. For a moment no one spoke. They watched her, certain that time itself was working in their favor. That exhaustion would do what intimidation hadn't. What they didn't understand was that she had survived decades of being underestimated. She had learned patience from men who mistook silence for weakness. She had learned precision from systems designed to exclude her. And she had learned one final thing from her husband, in the months before he died. Never sign what you didn't prepare yourself. She placed the pen down, gently, exactly parallel to the folder. "I won't be signing this today," she said. The room erupted. Her sister-in-law gasped. "How you're being difficult." Her nephew stood up. "This is ridiculous." Her brother slammed his hand on the table. "You don't have a choice." She flinched, but only inwardly. Then she reached into her bag, slowly, deliberately, and pulled out a thin manila envelope. The lawyer frowned. "What is that?" She didn't answer him. Instead, she slid the envelope across the table, past the pen, past the documents they wanted her to sign, and stopped it directly in front of the lawyer. "Those," she said, "are the records you forgot about." The lawyer didn't touch the envelope, not yet. Something in his expression shifted. Not fear, recognition. Her brother scoffed. "You think you can scare us with old papers?" She smiled for the first time. A small smile, calm, certain. "They're not old," she said. "They're current, and they're registered." The lawyer finally opened the envelope, and everything changed. The lawyer didn't open the envelope right away. That hesitation lasted less than 2 seconds, but it was enough. Enough for the paralegal to notice, enough for the room to feel it, enough for her brother's confidence to crack, just slightly. "What is this?" the lawyer asked finally. She didn't answer him directly. Instead, she reached back into her bag and removed a pair of reading glasses, not because she needed them, but because the gesture forced everyone to wait. Silence stretched. She put the glasses on, then spoke calmly. "Those are certified records from the county registry, updated within the last 90 days. Her nephew laughed again, but this time the sound came out sharp, brittle. "You're bluffing." She turned toward him slowly. "No, I'm correcting you." The lawyer cleared his throat and slid the envelope closer to himself. As he pulled out the documents, his confident posture softened. His shoulders leaned forward. His eyes scanned lines faster than they should have. The paralegal leaned in instinctively. Her brother frowned. "Is there a problem?" The lawyer didn't answer. He turned one page, then another, and then he stopped. The room felt smaller now, like the walls had moved in without anyone noticing. "These records," the lawyer began, then paused. "Where did you obtain them?" She folded her hands again. Same posture as before, but now the room felt different around her. "I requested them," she said. "Legally." Her sister-in-law scoffed. "I wouldn't even know where to—" "I filed the request myself," she interrupted, still calm, still measured. "In person." The paralegal's eyes widened. Her brother leaned forward. "This is getting out of hand. We're wasting time." The lawyer raised a hand, not at her, but at her brother. "Just a moment," he said. That small gesture, barely noticeable, shifted the balance of power. For the first time since she walked into the room, someone had asked them to wait instead of her. The lawyer adjusted his glasses and looked at the top page again. "These documents indicate that several asset transfers were recorded under an amended trust." Her brother froze. "What amended trust?" he asked. The lawyer looked up. "One registered under your late brother's name." The heir left the room. Her sister-in-law shook her head. "That's not possible. We handled everything after the funeral." She tilted her head slightly. "You handled what you knew about." Her nephew stepped forward. "This is a mistake. There was no amendment." The lawyer swallowed. "Actually, there was." He flipped the page and turned the document toward the table. The heading was clear, the stamp unmistakable. Filed, recorded, final. "This amendment predates the original documents you provided me," the lawyer said carefully, "by nearly 6 weeks." Her brother's voice rose. "That's impossible. We would have been notified." She finally leaned forward. "No," she said softly. "You wouldn't have." All eyes turned to her. "The amendment was filed under a confidentiality provision," she continued, "which means only the grantor and the preparer were notified." The lawyer looked at her sharply. "You're saying you knew about this?" She met his gaze. "I'm saying my husband made sure I did." Her brother stood up abruptly. "This is absurd. You're confused. You're remembering things wrong." The word hung in the air. Confused. She took a breath. Slow. Controlled. Then she removed one final sheet from the envelope and slid it across the table. "This," she said, "is the preparer's authorization." The lawyer stared at the page, his face drained of color. The paralegal whispered, "Oh my God." Her brother slammed his hand on the table again. "What does that even mean?" The lawyer didn't answer immediately. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, eyes fixed on the document, as if it might disappear if he looked away. "That means," he said slowly, "that the amendment was prepared by—" He stopped. The pause was unbearable. "By who?" her sister-in-law demanded. The lawyer exhaled. "By a firm with authority beyond this one." Her nephew scoffed. "You're exaggerating." The lawyer turned the page so they could all see the letterhead. No one spoke. The name at the top was unmistakable. Not a local office, not a small firm. A firm known for one thing only: discretion. Her brother's voice dropped. "That firm doesn't take private clients." She smiled again, slightly wider this time. "They do," she said, "when they're asked properly." The lawyer cleared his throat. "This changes things." Her brother laughed nervously. "No, it doesn't. We're still family." The lawyer shook his head. "This isn't a family matter anymore." The room erupted. Her sister-in-law shouted. Her nephew paced. Her brother demanded explanations. She stayed seated, still, silent, letting the noise burn itself out. Finally, the lawyer raised his voice. "Everyone needs to calm down." He turned to her. "Why didn't you disclose this earlier?" She looked at him evenly. "You didn't ask." That landed harder than any accusation. The lawyer nodded slowly. "I see." Her brother leaned toward her. "You planned this." She didn't deny it. "I prepared," she said. The lawyer closed the folder in front of him. "At this point, I cannot proceed with the documents as presented." Her sister-in-law gasped. "You're on our side." The lawyer stood up. "I'm on the side of the law." That sentence changed everything. Her brother's face twisted. "So what now?" The lawyer gathered his papers. "Now we pause, and we verify." Her nephew snapped. "Verify what?" The lawyer looked at her. "Everything." For the first time, she stood, not rushed, not shaky, just steady. "I believe," she said. "That would be wise." As she walked toward the door, her brother called out, desperation creeping into his voice. "How you can't do this to us?" She stopped, turned. "I didn't," she said. "You did." She opened the door and stepped out, leaving them behind with questions they could no longer control. Part 3. The meeting resumed without her. That alone told her everything she needed to know. From the hallway she could hear raised voices leaking through the thick wooden door. Not clear words, just fragments. Anger, panic, accusations. The sound of people who had believed control was permanent, suddenly realizing it wasn't. She sat on the bench across from the office, hands folded again, eyes fixed on nothing in particular, waiting. She had learned long ago that silence was not absence. It was leverage. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Finally, the door opened. The lawyer stepped out first. His face no longer carried authority, only caution. Behind him followed her brother, pale and rigid, and her sister-in-law, whose confidence had evaporated completely. The lawyer cleared his throat. "We need to reconvene." She stood without a word. They returned to the room, but it was no longer the same space. The table felt colder, the chairs farther apart. Even the air had shifted. The lawyer sat down slower than before. He placed a small recorder on the table. "This session is now being documented," he said. Her nephew scoffed. "Why?" "Because," the lawyer replied, "this matter may escalate beyond internal resolution." Her brother leaned forward. "Escalate how?" The lawyer glanced at the door. "Institutionally." Silence. Her sister-in-law's voice trembled. "You're overreacting." The lawyer didn't look at her. "I'm responding appropriately." He turned to the widow. "Before we proceed, I need to ask you something directly." She nodded. "Did your husband consult any external advisory board prior to filing the amendment?" "Yes," she said. "Twice." Her brother shot to his feet. "That's a lie." She didn't look at him. "You were not present." The lawyer pressed his lips together. "Do you have proof of those consultations?" She reached into her bag again. This time, the sound of paper landing on the table felt heavier. "These are meeting summaries," she said. "Stamped, signed." The lawyer flipped through them quickly, then more slowly. "This advisory board," he said carefully, "is not something most families ever interact with. Her brother's voice cracked. "What does that mean?" "It means," the lawyer replied, "your brother anticipated resistance." Her sister-in-law shook her head. "He wouldn't do this to us." The lawyer looked up. "He already did." Her nephew tried to laugh it off, but the sound failed him. "So what? He changed a few documents. We'll challenge it." The lawyer shook his head. "You can't." Her brother slammed his chair back. "Why not?" The lawyer met his eyes. "Because the amendment contains a trigger clause." The word hung in the air. "Trigger clause?" her sister-in-law whispered. The lawyer nodded. "A conditional escalation." Her brother's voice dropped. "Escalation to what?" The lawyer hesitated, then answered. "To a formal review panel." The widow felt it then, the first visible crack. Her brother's hands trembled. "That panel only convenes for—" He stopped himself. "For what?" she asked softly. "For cases of suspected misconduct," the lawyer finished. Her nephew laughed nervously. "This is insane. We did nothing wrong." The lawyer pressed a button on the recorder. "That will be determined." Her sister-in-law stood up. "You're choosing her over us?" The lawyer closed his eyes briefly. "I'm choosing procedure." Her brother's voice rose. "We trusted you." The lawyer opened his eyes again. "And you misrepresented material facts." That was the moment everything broke. Her brother staggered back into his chair. Misrepresented. Not misunderstood. Not confused. Misrepresented. The lawyer continued, voice calm but firm. "Based on the documents presented, I am obligated to notify the advisory board within 48 hours. Her sister-in-law clutched the table. "You can't." "I must." Her nephew pointed at the widow. "She manipulated this." The lawyer turned toward him sharply. "She followed the law." Silence. The widow spoke again. "There's more." Every head snapped toward her. She placed one final document on the table. "This," she said, "is the contingency memo." The lawyer inhaled sharply. "I didn't see this before." "You weren't meant to," she replied. Her brother stared at the page. "What is that?" She looked at him. "Insurance," the lawyer read aloud. "In the event that any beneficiary attempts to override, coerce, or diminish the authority of the primary heir." He stopped. "Tonal decision-making power transfers immediately," her sister-in-law screamed. "To who?" The lawyer looked up slowly. "To her." The room erupted. Her nephew cursed. Her sister-in-law cried. Her brother sat frozen. The lawyer stood. "This meeting is adjourned." Her brother stood as well, panic overtaking anger. "You're destroying the family." She met his gaze for the first time fully. "No," she said. "I'm ending the lie." The lawyer gathered the documents carefully. "You will all be contacted." As they filed out, none of them looked at her. She remained seated. The lawyer paused at the door. "You knew this would happen." She nodded. "He made sure I was ready." The lawyer hesitated. "If this proceeds, there will be consequences." She stood. "There already were," she said. Outside, the sky had darkened. Evening light reflected off glass buildings like mirrors. For the first time since the funeral, she breathed freely. But the reckoning was not over. Not yet. The hearing did not take place in a courtroom. That alone unsettled them. They had prepared for something familiar: wooden benches, a judge's robe, a gavel they could argue with. Instead, they were summoned to a glass-walled conference hall overlooking the city, silent and immaculate, where authority did not shout. It observed. They arrived separately. Her brother came first, jaw clenched, eyes darting as if the room itself might accuse him. His wife followed, her confidence replaced by a brittle composure she could barely hold together. The nephew arrived last, still trying to perform defiance, though his hands shook when he reached for water. She arrived on time, not early, not late, exactly when she was supposed to. The panel members were already seated, 3 men and 2 women, none of them smiling, none of them curious. Their faces reflected the kind of power that did not need to announce itself. The lawyer stood near the far wall, silent. A woman at the center of the table spoke first. "This session will begin. No introductions, no pleasantries." The widow sat with her hands folded again, as she always did. "We are here," the woman continued, "to review a challenge to a legal amendment and associated contingency clauses." Her brother shifted in his chair. "This is unnecessary. We—" "Do not interrupt," the woman said calmly. He stopped. The woman turned her attention to the widow. You are the primary beneficiary and acting authority. Is that correct? Yes. And you are present voluntarily? Yes. The woman nodded. Good. She turned to the others. You have alleged coercion, misrepresentation, and undue influence. Her sister-in-law leaned forward. She manipulated him. He was grieving. He wasn't thinking clearly. The panel member raised an eyebrow. Your evidence? The sister-in-law opened her mouth, then closed it. Her brother spoke instead. She isolated him. The panel member glanced down at her tablet. According to the records, they were married for 43 years. Silence. Another panelist spoke. That is not isolation. That is partnership. The nephew scoffed. You're all missing the point. A man at the far end of the table looked up slowly. Then enlighten us. The nephew swallowed. She didn't even know what she owned. That's why we were helping. The widow did not react. The panelist tapped his pen once. Helping. Yes. Without disclosing full documentation. The nephew hesitated. We didn't think... Thank you, the panelist said. That will be enough. The woman at the center nodded. We will now review the records. The screens around the room lit up. Timelines, dates, signatures. Emails appeared. Formal, deliberate, unmistakable. Minutes from advisory meetings. Audio transcripts. Her brother stared at the screen, eyes widening. That can't be right, he whispered. The panelist spoke without looking at him. It is, the woman continued. These records show that the deceased initiated the amendment independently, consulted external advisors, and included protective clauses specifically anticipating familial resistance. Her sister-in-law's voice broke. He wouldn't have planned against us. The panelist finally looked at her. He did. Another screen illuminated. The contingency memo. Her brother's shoulders sagged as he read it again. Slower this time, as if hoping the words might change. In the event of coercion, the panelist read aloud, authority transfers immediately and irrevocably. Irrevocably. Her brother looked at the widow then, not with anger, but with something close to fear. You let us walk into this, he said hoarsely. She met his gaze. You walked yourselves. The woman at the center leaned forward. We have reviewed all materials. The amendment is valid. Her sister-in-law gasped. You can't do this. We already have, the woman replied. The panelist at the far end added, furthermore, based on attempted interference, certain secondary privileges are hereby revoked. Her nephew stood abruptly. This is a setup. The panelist didn't raise his voice. Sit down. He did. The woman continued. Effective immediately, the primary beneficiary assumes full control of all assets, accounts, and governance rights. Her brother whispered, all of them. All, the woman confirmed. The widow inhaled slowly. Not relief, finality. There is one more matter, the woman said. The room stilled. An audit. Her sister-in-law collapsed back into her chair. An audit? The panelist nodded. Of actions taken prior to this hearing. Her nephew's face drained of color. The woman turned to the widow. Do you wish to proceed? She paused. This was the moment they expected vengeance. She chose precision. Yes, she said, but only what is necessary. The panelist nodded. Understood. The woman concluded, this session is adjourned. No gavel, no applause, just silence. As they stood, her brother tried to speak again, but nothing came out. Her sister-in-law looked at her with eyes that finally understood. They had never known her. Outside, the city moved on, indifferent. The lawyer approached her quietly. It's over. She nodded. He hesitated. You handled that exceptionally. She looked out at the skyline. He taught me. The lawyer lowered his voice. They underestimated you. She didn't smile. They underestimated the truth. She left the building alone. No escort, no celebration. Just her footsteps on marble, steady and unhurried. At the exit, she paused, feeling the weight lift. Not because she had won, but because she no longer had to be silent. Power had returned to where it belonged, and it stayed there. If this story proved that silence can be power, leave a like and subscribe. More truths surface here.